Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey. I am one of your co hosts. I am Casey.
And I'm Sam. Let's get screaming.
Let's get screaming as we are joined in the basement on this episode with writer, director, producer, and so much more of Troma Entertainment's upcoming film that is hitting a nationwide tour as we speak. Bring on the Damned.
Bring on the Damned is an anthology movie featuring 5 segments of murder, debauchery, perversion, and mystery solving. Please welcome to the show, Brandon Bassham. How are you doing, Brandon? Thanks for
Hi.
being on Screams.
Thanks so much for having me. It's really appreciated. I love the intro too.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Congrats on the movie. We both got
Thank
a
you.
chance to watch it. It is wild. It's everything I feel like you would want out of a Troma anthology. It's got a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Yeah, so for people who don't know, I mean, Sam briefly touched on it there in our intro. What Bring on the Damned is, but from the creator, from the mind behind Bring on the Damned. Brandon? What is this movie?
It's an anthology of 5 stories. Essentially, it's a lot of scripts I had laying around that I'm like, I'm never gonna get to. Some of them were intended to be features. Others were just some shorts I had mixed with other random ideas from different places. I'm like, I have all this stuff I'm probably never gonna get to make. Why don't I put them all into one? Try to put them all into one movie, and then to try to give it a little bit more of a hook too. Each segment I decided to do in a different genre. We do a found footage exorcism thing. We do a French New Wave thing, which is little. Probably don't see many horror movies with that. We do like a De Palma Giallo thing. We do a noir mixed with some sci-fi, and then we do live action cartoon mixed with David Fincher. I guess is the Hanna-Barbera meets David Fincher is the best way to say that. And I'm like, let's try to and let's go hard on all of them and try to do. I watched. I mean, I've always watched tons of anthologies anyway, but when I was preparing for this, me and my friend Minky watched so many of them and trying to see what they do right or wrong. And I think with a lot of them, it just feels like so much filler material. Like, and people may not like every segment, but we tried to make every segment go as hard as it could and be as fully developed as it could. And that was kind of the idea of like, and just make it. I want it to be. I want people to watch it and everybody to have a different favorite segment. Which I like. We had the 1 or 2 live screenings, and I talked to 10 people. Everybody had a different favorite one or a different least favorite one, and that's kind of what we were going for.
Yeah. I think you nailed that because Casey and I in our talks after this movie, I think we both have the same favorite. But I think
you
like
and I
our rankings
100% have the same favorite, and it's just because our sensibilities are so similar.
Yeah, but I think like the other 4 kind of like move around for each of us. So how did this come to Troma? How did this get put together as like an actual like project that's not just scripts but actually like bringing it to life essentially?
Well, this is the 4th film that I've written and directed. I made 2 films, Fear Town USA and The Slashing. I had produced those all myself with my friends. And Troma ended up distributing those for us. They got them on streaming services and they made the Blu-rays for us, but those had all been completely finished by me. And then that got me involved with them. And they, Lloyd took a liking to me, and John Brennan, Lloyd's assistant at the time, got me to write hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm. That was Lloyd's previous movie. He just made a new one. It's not out yet, but his previous film, his follow-up, another Shakespeare movie, his follow-up to Tromeo and Juliet about the Tempest. And while I was writing that for them, I also started production on the second Slashing movie, Slashing the Final Beginning. The second one's called Final Beginning. And we got most of the way through producing that when we just kind of ran out of money. It was a very hard production to finish, and Troma came in and gave me the money to finish it, so they kind of produced that one too.
Awesome.
Top of distributing it. And then for this one, I just went straight to them like, hey, ready to make another movie? We've had a pretty good relationship. Can you guys, give me a little bit of cash to get this started? And they fully produced this one. Michael and Lloyd have supported me on this one all the way through. No notes really, just, a lot of creative freedom. And so it's been a really good process working with them on it. But this is the first thing I've done that's been 100% through Michael and Lloyd.
Awesome.
Yeah, what's so cool about this movie in particular is that, it's an anthology, 5 segments, but they're all your segments. It's not like each one's directed by, a different director or a writing directing group. It's all you, but they're all so different that you would look at them and think that they're done by different directors. What was that creative process of like, were you just trying to stretch, hey, what can I do inside this subgenre? How can I do a De Palma movie? How can I do a sci-fi noir movie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge movie fan, not just horror movies. I mean, my background was in comedy because that was just an easier place to start. Then I moved into doing horror stuff, but I'm just a film fan in general. So it was a lot of genres that I like. And not making money on this. These are very low budget. So I'm like, if we're going to do this, I want it to be fun and exciting for everybody. And we all got to push ourselves and try new things. It wasn't because it's an anthology, but also so different. Every few weeks we're switching things up. Now we're doing a detective thing, and we all have to like we're in the 50s. Now we gotta get the girls wearing cat suits. It's like if you show up, people didn't really get bored because it was always something new. It wasn't the same actors in the same clothes doing the same characters. It was always something new and exciting. It was fun for the camera team too, to like, we got to shoot this in a whole different style, and everybody got to do things they're normally not going to get to do. So it wasn't, I mean, it's still mainly me, egomaniac. This is all my ideas. But everybody on the crew and the cast got to do different things that they're normally not many people are going to get to do a science fiction themed noir, and it was like fun for people to break that out. And it just kept things exciting too, because it is a grind. It took a couple years to get it all made, but it was like, all right, I got to challenge myself now. We're going to change, the found footage one is one of the last ones we did. And, we're really running out of gas by that point, but it was kind of fun to, all right, we're getting rid of all of our good cameras. We're breaking out all these shitty mini DV tape cameras that we had. Me and my friend Matt had so many of those laying around, just the worst cameras. And it was kind of fun and exciting. We have an 8mm camera. It's just fun and exciting to like, okay, we're going to shoot this whole new style with this, just really the crappiest cameras, we actually kind of fell in love with the look of it after a while. But it changed things up, and we can be sloppy with this because it's supposed to look bad. And it was just always something new.
Yeah. So what was the most like challenging one to shoot? I imagine I loved the French New Wave one. Every time the voiceover comes on in French, I busted a gut. What was the most challenging segment to like nail down the style and to get that right,
Well, that segment is actually the easiest. It's the last thing we shot. It's like a day and a half because in the spirit of New Wave, run and gun, one take. Right. It's okay if it's sloppy. It's okay if the sound isn't great because that's in the spirit of it. I just made sure, we planned it out so it does feel it. But this is what it was about. It was about people who had no money running and gunning and shooting on the fly. And so we did that, which is the last thing we shot. We made it really easy. The toughest one, none of them were super hard. The toughest one was Disco Inferno. The De Palma S Giallo one. Yeah. That was our big one. We started with that. We put the most time into that. That was where mostly all of our whole budget went to that. And I don't think it was necessarily super difficult. It was more expensive and more time. Getting everybody to learn to dance, getting a disco floor, dragging people out into Long Island to this one bar that would let us put a disco floor down and film there. Getting fancier camera techniques, we had a lot more extras for that, bigger crowds, things like that. That was the most challenge, which is why we started with that. And like I said, we blew our whole budget on that almost immediately. And then it was, I told, Michael and Lloyd, Troma, like, this is plenty enough for us to make a movie with. I knew it wasn't. Within 2 weeks we'd blown through all of it. But then we just would shoot things we could shoot for free. We're shooting friends' apartments and trying to make them look like they're, we shot in my friend Steve's apartment, 3 rooms that we used. Probably each room got used 4 times. You just had to shoot from a different angle and redecorate it. It looks like a different location. And then every now and then we need something big. I'd go back, look at this footage. Does it look good? Can I get just a little bit more money? We found a church that'll an abandoned church we can film at for, if you can give me a little. And then they were always, it made sure to spread out enough, and it was always worth it. Okay, can we shoot at this church? Can we shoot at this boxing gym? Can you help us get that location? And then anything else that wasn't that, we would find a way to lie, cheat, or steal and get like whatever we needed for the other things. But the big things they came through on us for us on. But yeah, the disco was the most intensive. Tiger Babes was also tricky because we shot in an abandoned. It was truly, the church had been abandoned for like 20 something years. So we had to sweep a lot of feces out. We'll say it was animal feces, but and there's no power or electricity, so we had to get a generator. There's no bathrooms in it, so it was like if they had to go to the bathroom, they had to walk like 10 blocks to a bodega, which the girls in full costume and full tiger makeup had to walk, into the bodega to go to the bathroom. So that was challenging in that regard. But as far as like really hard to shoot, I said nothing was super difficult other than Disco Inferno was the most time intensive.
And was Disco Inferno also, I mean, you have a lot of like editing tricks in that, like very flashy editing. Was that probably the trickiest one to get the edit right too?
That took the dance sequence and then the for the split screen kill scenes. It was a couple months just to do those two scenes. It was probably the first 3 to 4 months of editing was just doing those two scenes. It was a lot easier after that, but I was going crazy just, on an island of myself, and I couldn't really send it to people yet because I sent people an early cut of it, and they were like, they couldn't follow anything. It was just too much, and I had to like whittle it down piece by piece until it all kind of made sense.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it looks incredible. It is.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Some of my favorite moments of the movie. It'll just, you nailed that vibe and that style perfectly.
Also, you're like final boy in that. Wherever you found him, he's hilarious.
That's Johnny. Johnny was our producer on it too. He was the first person into the production. Well, my composer Louis Aronowitz, he was number one because I had to get him work on the music right away. But the first person in was Johnny. Asked if he could help with the movie and help produce it. And I was like, well, you're a good looking Italian guy. Will you spend some time learning this dumb dance for us? And he's like, I will. Then the part is yours. And then he also plays our noir detective too. But
I thought I recognized him in that too.
Well, that's the crazy. They're back to back. Why was Ed? He was. I don't want to badmouth the guy. I didn't realize how good of an actor he was until we got into doing it, and especially when I was editing, I was like, I had to look at him so much. And I never felt like I was looking at Johnny. I always felt like I was looking at the character, and the two characters he plays never felt the same to me at any point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. That's so cool.
I got a filmmaking question here because we have a lot of filmmakers that listen to our show, and one thing that has always inspired me with like the Troma model is working on a low budget, but also using it to the best of your ability, and also having so many people on a project, because like Troma movies, that's the bit, or with any low budget movie, that's one thing you notice is that there's no extras in the background, or there's not people filling space. At like a nightclub, there might be 5 people and the same 5 people show up in every single shot in the background, versus something like this where there's so many extras, so many different characters, so many different actors. What advice do you have for filmmakers on assembling a larger cast on a budget?
Well, just always be nice to people. so that people want to be part of your project. It'll come when you need help. They come running. I spent a lot of my early years helping other people out on stuff, and then it's like time for favors, or it just creates a general vibe. It helps that I'm in New York where there's just a lot more people. But I spent years doing theater at the Upright Citizens Brigade, so I know hundreds of people from there. And then Troma has, it's our home bases here in New York. So many Troma people show up, and it's a very loyal, good group of people. Lots of other Troma filmmakers are there to come out, Reeves Elliott and people like that, Ben Johnson. If you need anybody, you put out a call, a bunch of weirdos will show up for you to be extras whenever you need it. So yeah, we were very fortunate to have lots of people show up, but it was, like I said, we try to make sure it felt like it and try not to waste anybody's time. Shoot days are always kind of brutal, but if you're bringing a bunch of extras in, try to get what you need, get them out of there real fast. Don't make people stand around for like 10 hours while you're setting up one shot. Things like, which is what they do on so many sets. Big budget sets do it all the time, but I've even been on smaller projects where people are like, you guys got to get your shit together if you're going to bring, I'm sorry, can you swear in here?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Fuck yeah. Have yourself, try not to waste people's time. If you're not paying them well, like Same with, I mean, it's kind of, even when you're using just smaller crew, normal, like a couple actors, still same with, try not to waste their time. But you have a big group of people, have a plan, get them in there, have your shit together. They're in and out. Like, it also helped when we shot one of our big scenes with the big crowd. We were at a bar. We had to be done before they were open. So we got to be out here at 4:00 because the regular bar patrons are coming in. So we got to hurry. But we had a plan, got what we needed, got out, saved any arguments about like, how should we do this? What should we do? We discussed that the day before, so we don't have those arguments on set. We don't have to spin around, and then we solve problems quick. And it also, I'm just fortunate to have a lot of great people around. So many people from Troma and who I've met through my, Upright Citizens Brigade and comedy stuff. I've been doing this for a while and just have a huge group of good people that will show up when you need them.
That's awesome.
But as far as advice, be nice to people and always go help other people out. Then they're, always don't, like I'm a director. I can't go hold boom on somebody's like, yeah, you can. Sure you can.
Yeah.
Go do that.
Mm-hmm.
Go do that.
Anytime you're on set, you're learning. That's the best. That's the best part about being on set. Like, fill in wherever you can because you're going to learn something. Also, if you're a director who can't run a boom mic, how do you expect to have good sound on your movie?
I've done every possible job on a film set, which is why I know I'm not good at like 90% of them. But it's like, but I know I'm not, and I know why I'm not good. So it's like I'm gonna take it a little bit easier on some of the people. I'm like, I know how hard that job is, so I'm not gonna give you too hard of a time. I'm gonna try to. Everybody should edit at some point, just so you know what editors have to deal with. You will never give an editor a bunch of shit they can't work with and try to have them to fix it if you've actually tried to edit before. Like, this is why you need coverage. This is why you need ins and outs and things like that. That's the big, everybody filming. Make sure you edit at some point because editors get screwed. Like, here's a bunch of unusable footage, and that's just a brutal job to have to deal with. I did my own on this one because I didn't want to do that to anybody. I want to give them, here's 5 hours of dance footage. Can you?
Yeah. Okay. So I feel like we've kind of talked briefly about it, but the minute the title card for this last segment hit, I was like, I could talk for a half an hour about this short alone.
Happy to do it.
Where did the final, like, where did that come from? Was that one of them? You said originally, like, some of these were meant to be features, because the entire time I was watching that last one, I'm like, I'd watch a feature film of this.
So
where did that idea come
Tiger
from?
Babes. So
Yeah.
It's like a Josie and the Pussycats meets like Seven or True Detective, just solving incredibly violent sex crimes.
And you have a great SVU like gag in there.
It's one of those, when I'm talking about different segments, like I always say each one's my favorite. This is probably my most favorite because this is the one that my happiest day ever filming of anything. And I'm usually kind of like, I don't have a lot of fun on set, like not to be I'm just always so intense, so tense and trying to make sure everything's right. And it's, I like the process, but I'm not having fun. The day we shot the opening of that, where they find the pile of dead bodies, that's the basement of the abandoned church. Like I said, it's an abandoned church, so we had to bring a generator and set up our own lights. We had filmed up in the church earlier in the day, where we'd filmed the girls running around doing the cute stuff. So we're in the basement. We have a pile of naked guys. I got to volunteer to come sit naked in this disgusting basement. We probably all got lung diseases from it. I've got some of my more serious actor friends who are there to play the detectives, who are normally not doing this sort of stuff. So they're a little off. And I've got the girls dressed in tiger costumes. I have a whole group of people. And I was like, I'm so happy. I'm so hugging my friend Colin, he'll produce. Like, I can't believe we're doing something this stupid. And this many people came to be part of it. But the genesis of that is I love Hanna-Barbera, so I grew up with that stuff, and most of it's junk, but that's what I grew up with. You love it. I really did love Josie and the Pussycats, and there's the Josie and the Pussycats album from the 70s, the Stop Look and Listen, is one of my favorite albums ever. So sincere love of that and Scooby-Doo stuff. I've always wanted to do something in that genre. And a decade ago at least, I had the idea for it. And I had this idea kick around, and then that's when True Detective, the first season, came out, and that kind of helped. What if they were solving like True Detective violent, and then it morphed into David Fincher stuff. So that was the genesis of it. So I had my friend Faith Fawcett, who's done music for me in the past, write all these Tiger Babe songs. And I went through a bunch of like Josie and the Pussycats type and Archie's type songs. Like, here's the type of songs we all want us to do. We need to come up with some. And she wrote like 4 really good songs that sound pretty accurate. They sound pretty on point, to the point they've been in my playlist for a decade now. It's just they're normal songs. And I was going to film it just as a short back then, but it would have been less like not this involved, much smaller, more like just like an internet sketch video. And I was we were almost ready to shoot it, but it was very loose. I was just like, hey, let's all meet on Saturday. My friend had this it's a place where we shot a lot of my other stuff at. They have like this factory, so like it looked kind of industrial. And the last minute though, I was just like, I think I could do so much more with this than what we would have been. A much more half-assed. The songs would have been great, but it would have been way more half-assed. And I'm like, I think we should wait on this until I get a better opportunity to do this. And it took almost 10 years basically before we got around to it. But I finally like, let's expand it. And the only reason I would do that as a feature is getting all those songs takes a lot of time. I would do a series of them if I could and could, generate the songs, but the songs sounded right to me. But that was one I've been kicking around for a long time. It's been in my head for so long. But it changed. It wasn't like the script. I didn't have the script is more or less the basic vibe, but it changed a lot over the years because like we didn't know we were going to have access to a church. I would have done so much more if I would have known we had a church. I was like, we'll shoot in a garage or something. And wherever we look spooky. And we ended up finding a church right when we needed it. I'm like, and it was like weeks before that church was going to be remodeled too. So it was just the timing was just right. Let's get in here, shoot all this spooky shit in the church, have fun with it, and found the right girls and everything. And it was the second segment we shot, and it was a lot of fun.
Nice. That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah. I was watching this and my partner was in the other room. And when that title card dropped, I laughed so loud. She like came running in. She's like, what happened? Like, I got to know what caused that. Because I lost it, man. So like props.
I'm happy that's working. In our last like big screening we did, it worked really well too. Because I wanted to set people up by how long it takes before we get there. So people cannot predict what's going to happen. And that's why we also changed the wraparound we didn't really have a wraparound for the movie. And kind of a late addition was let's just make it Zach from our last segment. So it builds it up even more. So we keep seeing this guy, and that's like a long setup for that one punchline.
Yeah. I texted Casey because he had watched this before me, and I texted Casey as I got into the last segment because he's like, that last segment is wild, and like I was getting all the Fincher stuff, and I'm like, I texted him, I'm like, what is this? And he's like, have you gotten to the reveal? And I'm like, what reveal? He's like, wait 30 seconds. It was, fantastic. Just fantastic.
Yeah, I was going to say, I got your real-time reaction. It's so good. And I mean, we're big Hanna-Barbera fans. Like, we love Scooby-Doo, and like, just to have
the Fred Jones character just cracked me up. Especially when he was trying to get abducted.
My boy Billy, he's been in all my movies. We go that way back.
Now I got to ask, because we've talked about Troma quite a bit on this. This is 50 years of Troma this year. Do you have early Troma memories for yourself of movies that you probably watched when you were too young and probably shouldn't have been watching? What are some of your early Troma memories?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, Toxic Avenger, obviously, because as a little kid, the video. And I'm old enough to be where video stores were a huge thing, and it looked like a superhero movie. And I mean, my parents didn't care anyway. I watched all sorts of inappropriate stuff; they never did. But getting that one and it just not being prepared for exactly how over the top and how gory it was going to be and how inappropriate it was. But that's burned in my brain. That's a big one. My other Troma stuff was just USA Up All Night when they would show Nukem Heights, like edited with Gilbert Godfrey and Rhonda Shear. Always on, always Troma stuff on. And that's where I probably saw most of the Troma stuff. And then my next biggest Troma memory, though, is Cannibal the Musical by the South Park guys. That's kind of what got me to start making movies.
Nice.
I'm just a little bit younger than those guys. And I remember getting that. We stole the VHS from Movie Gallery that my friend worked at. And he's just like, I'll mark it as the prosperous, never brought it back, just take it. We watched it till it fell apart. And that's the one where like, we got to make a movie too. It took a long time to ever get like to actually make a movie, but that was the one that really inspired us. Like, there's just funny people that went out and made a movie with their friends. It can be done. And so that was kind of one of the biggest influences on me was that specific movie.
That rules.
Yeah, now you have your own musical numbers in your movie, just like Cannibal the Musical. Full circle.
Everything I've done's had some sort of musical element to it. I think that's between Cannibal the Musical and like the glory years of the Simpsons. I just feel it. I know for a lot of people, musical stuff can pull them out, but it just feels organic to me. It just feels like that's part of it.
Yeah, that rules. So, oh my God, I lost my question, Casey.
Oh, I have two more questions before we kind of get close to wrapping things up, because there's a title that you brought up earlier, Brandon, that you had a hand in. Shakespeare shitstorm that you wrote.
Hashtag Shakespeare. You got to put the hashtag
sorry.
in. Lloyd never. I just call it shitstorm. Lloyd never fails. The hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm, the full title.
Hashtag Shakespeare.
The title
shitstorm.
that guaranteed the movie would not be successful. Instead of calling it The Tempest. Lloyd and his glorious punk rock sensibilities. I'm going to self-destruct our movie and make sure that it can't play anywhere. That no streamers will pick it up.
That's literally the question I was going to have. How did that happen? Because obviously Lloyd's a big Shakespeare fan.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. Tromeo and Juliet is one of the biggest Troma movies of all time. How did you end up working on hashtag Shakespeare shitstorm?
Well, Lloyd had always wanted to do Tempest. It's his favorite, but he wanted to wait till he was old because it's Shakespeare's. It's his last play, but he really did more after that. Same way that hashtag shitstorm was Lloyd's last movie, but he just made another one. He was waiting that when he got old enough to do it, and he finally was ready to do it, and he was trying to find a writer for it. And that's right when I'd gotten involved with them, and John Brennan and a couple of people that were around him liked me. Took a liking to me. They were really trying to sell me to Lloyd. And I think it was a hard sell. Not Lloyd. I think what happened was they were still doing test screenings of Return to Nukem High. And John had set up a double feature of my movie, The Slashing, with Return to Nukem High, like a test screening of it. And I got Lloyd to sit through my movie because he's hard to pin down. And I think he saw the reaction the audience had to my movie. Oh, they really like this. We should talk to this guy. Then we should bring him in and let him write it. I think that's what got him sold on me. And then the process then was this is crazy because I knew Lloyd as a kid. I watching him. It is weird to somebody you're a fan of and you like. Meeting them's one thing, but I'm just like sitting in his living room with him and his wife. Lovely family too, which is so funny. His wife and daughters. So classy and sweet and wholesome. Lloyd is outside of Troma, is a very classy, refined person. But sitting and having snacks with them while we're discussing, well shitting on people and things like that. It was great. And I was tasked mainly with, we talked some ideas for it. Lloyd Lloyd had some ideas for it, and he pitched me, here's basically what I want it to be. And I took that and worked on it. But I had, only person above Lloyd is his wife, Pat. She's like, don't let it go over 90 pages. Because Lloyd has a habit of scripts getting to be like 200 pages where they have to split them to two movies. That's happened several times. And I understand why, too. While I was working on it, every day, I would get so many texts and messages from Lloyd. Hey, you should put this in, like with new ideas he'd had. And it's ideas he had in the moment that you definitely shouldn't put in a script because he's not going to remember it 2 weeks from now. It was just it's not not as fancy at the time. And so my direct orders were, do not do that. Keep that at 90 pages. And that was what I did. I kept it nice and tight and lean, got the basic structure down. Because they added a bunch of stuff. Lloyd likes to improv and add lots of jokes to it. Zach and Miko added a ton of jokes to it. And then Fraser Brown, another guy came in and added some of the more iambic pentameter stuff, which I was not thrilled with doing. So I got most of the jokes. I locked in all the characters. a couple Shakespeare people have also said this. It's not me. It is the most accurate adaptation ever as far as the actual structure and characters. But then all the extra stuff is just horrifying and disgusting and gross. But as far as story beats and the characters, it's the most accurate, which was my goal. And then I gave them space to play and add in all the other fun stuff.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I've never seen or read the Tempest, but that's what I have heard as well. And to hear that that's coming from Troma is, I mean, who else do you want to make like the most accurate version of Shakespeare?
It's very personal for Lloyd. He is a very Prospero character. It does fit him a lot, and I wrote in some things I was pretty proud of that kind of summarize Lloyd's career.
Yeah. That's
now
awesome.
before we wrap this up, we gotta bring up again, Bring on the Damned. How can people watch this movie? Because you mentioned to us that you guys are doing something pretty cool with how people are able to watch the movie.
Yeah, well, immediately here in the New York, New Jersey area on April 5th, we're doing a screening at Kevin Smith's Mod Castle and a Q&A and everything. That'll be April 5th. But we are just starting what's called Hands Across Tromerica. It is a nationwide tour of not just Bring on the Damned, but all the newest Troma movies. There's several other filmmakers that have made, Ben Johnson, Ricky Glore, Heidi Moore. A lot of people have a lot of movies coming out. So there's a tour of a marathon of these movies playing around the country. If you go to Troma on Instagram or Facebook, you'll find all this information. But like March 2nd, we will be in Ohio, Cincinnati. We're going to be on March 29th, Eugene, Oregon. April 5th, I'll be in New Jersey, but everybody else will be in San Antonio. We're going to Colorado. We're going to Winter Park, Florida, on April 19th. I'll be there for that one. We're doing lots of Ohio visits. So Ohio, get ready. Troma's going to be like 6 different screenings there. And then we'll be in Memphis, Tennessee on June 7th. But that's going to be, I just want to make sure I get everybody's movie in. Curse of the Were-Deer, which is a super funny movie. Ben Johnson and Jimmy Adamson made it. It's so funny. Sweet Meats, Ricky Glore. Hashtag Shakespeare Shitstorm will be part of this because that's still a new release. Rise of the Super Tromettes by Mercedes the Muse and Kill Dolly Kill by Heidi Moore. You can buy a ticket and watch a marathon of all these movies in one day, or you can buy individual tickets to each individual movie. And at every screening, we'll be there doing personal appearances at every screening. It'll be a mix of sometimes I'll be at some of them, not all of them, but somebody else will be there to represent, for each of their individual movies. And then just in general, Bring on the Damned. Outside of that, we will, April 5th is our next one in New Jersey. When that's done, we will have a more, New York-ish screenings. And we were working on an LA screening, but we're going to wait till they recover a little bit before I try to rally people out there. Hey, you guys come to my movie, and it's like, they let them get their houses on, put out first. But if you follow us on Instagram's the main one that I use and that Bring on the Damned uses. But if you follow us and Troma on social media, you'll find dates for all these. But there will be plenty of screens coming up. We probably won't be on streaming till end of the year, if not into the next year.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's such a cool release model.
I was going to say,
I love that.
That's the fucking way to do it. Like, just get out there.
It's really exciting. Yeah. What also just happens to be now, it's like a Troma-sance. There's just like a bunch of new Troma stuff that's all pretty good, all coming out at the same time. It's all like, like I said, it's all where a lot of us all work together. A lot of the other filmmakers all help each other out. So it's kind of a good family vibe.
Now, Brandon, before we let you go, we do have one more question that we leave every interview off with. If people are going to go watch Bring on the Damned, and I'm going to throw a wrench in this because they are going to have, what would be the 5, not a double feature, Sam, what would be 5 movies in a row? What would that be called? Is that
you threw me.
It's a Quint. Yeah. Quintuple feature. Quintuple feature, yeah.
Quintuple?
Yeah.
Quintuple
feature.
Okay. So if you go watch the quintuple feature, we're going to throw that out. You can't pick one of those movies. But if someone's going to watch Bring on the Damned, Brandon, what movie would you personally pair it with for an ultimate double feature?
Oh, that's it's easy to say Creep Show because that's like the best anthology movie. But I will go. That's if you're going horror. If you're going to the non-horror elements, The Monkey's Head, I would do because that's another movie which I didn't realize how much I was inspired by that. So the last time I watched it a few months ago, where Bob Rafelson also did every type of movie he wanted to do. He has the monkeys doing a war movie. He has them doing a boxing movie. He has them doing a Hammer horror movie. He's like, I just want to put every type of movie I ever want to do in one feature. I'm like, I don't remember being directly inspired by this, but I must have, because I love that movie. And it is, I also love it seems, because it's the monkey, so wholesome, but it's so nihilistic. It is so nihilistic. And the fact that it's what's essentially a children's band making one of the most nihilistic movies I've seen, but being very upbeat at the same time. That's my vibe a lot.
Hell
so
yeah.
I'm very much into that one.
That rules.
Yeah, that rules. Adding that to the watch list right away to watch.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, that's amazing. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us. Like, this has been such a blast.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we wrap things up, Sam, why don't you let the people know where they can find us on our social medias?
Yeah, you can find Screams from the Basement on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. You can get our podcast on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube if you like video components to your podcasts.
And then you can also find us on Patreon, patreon.com/Screams from the Basement. And I think that's it. Again, Brandon, thank you for joining us. Everyone out there listening, please check out Bring on the Damned, either in theaters or next year when it hits streaming for all of us weirdos who just don't live in cool cities that get Troma movies in the theater. But Sam, why don't you go ahead and give us that sign off?
Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.